Welcome back to another video tutorial brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. Today we're going to talk about how you can use color theory to create more natural looking highlights and shadows in your drawings and paintings. Let's talk about light for a minute. Light is how we see objects, so therefore when we're drawing or painting, it's important for us to draw or paint accurate light. Light tells us the form of the object, so it's very important. And it does this through a couple of factors. First of all, highlights are indicated by the tints or the lighter values of a color. They tell us where light is hitting the object. Now the opposite of highlights are the shadows. Shadows are indicated by the shades or darker values of a color, and they're the areas where light is not hitting the object. Highlights and shadows work together to define the form of the object. Now let's look at shadows for a minute. Shadows are naturally blue in hue. Now obviously we don't see blue objects lying around. In this case, this apple's not blue. Instead we see what's called local color. Local color is the color that's visible on the object. For example, this is a red apple. Now let's look at color theory for a moment. Here's the color wheel, and the color wheel is an organized way of arranging the colors. Certain relationships exist on the color wheel. For example, complementary colors are directly across from each other. Blue and orange, purple and yellow, and red and green are a few examples of complementary colors. If we apply complementary colors to our highlights and shadows when we are drawing or painting an object, it increases the contrast between those highlights and shadows. For example, red for the highlights and green for the shadows in this apple. Now, if we remember that shadow is naturally blue in hue, and the color that exists on the object is actually local color, and we apply the complementary colors to that as well, we create natural highlight and shadow in the objects that we are drawing and painting. So, blue shadow plus local color plus complementary colors equals dynamic and natural looking highlights and shadows. Looking back at this apple, you can see the areas where you have green in the shadow and red in the highlight. You can also see the blue in the shadow, and you can also see the local color. This has been another video tutorial brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com.